Okay, so for the beginning of the workshop, I will not be paying attention to the chat as I will be doing the presentation and doing the mock-up, the prototyping of the UI UX of Adobe XD. For questions and stuff, I'll be looking at it at the end, but if you guys run into any troubles throughout the workshops, this will be recorded and I will be there on Discord to help answer any loose questions, all right? The goal of this workshop today is just to go over the basics of Adobe XD. While I do have a UI UX like design ready, we may not be able to finish it due to the time constraints. So if that should happen, do not worry. I'll send you guys the final product so you can try making it yourself or you can experiment with it. We're going to give people around 2 more minutes before we begin. So while that's going on, I guess I should introduce myself first. My name is Shada Sit. I currently do the marketing for Epsilon Pi Epsilon, and I'm part of the marketing team as well. So anything you probably see in Epsilon Pi Epsilon, I probably touched at one point with Caesar. So in terms of professional, I did an internship on software engineering at JPMC, and I will most likely be continuing a full-time there. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. In terms of the workshop, let's see how many people we have. Alrighty, 45. So for the people who are in right now, I'm going to just give you a warning. Please make sure you have all these prerequisites installed, because if not, you will probably not be able to get through the workshop. The first prerequisite is Adobe XD. The second is Railway and ScriptMT, the font. ScriptMT should be a default window font, but Railway comes from Google Fonts, so make sure you have that. And then the UI UX Workshop Starter Kit in the Hacker's Guide. They will have the assets we'll be using for this workshop. So give it 1 more minute for the little stragglers, and then we'll see what happens next. All right? Make sure you have those, though, because this is going to be going a little bit fast, unfortunately. Additionally, there is something I do recommend for this workshop. If you guys go to Google and you type in Adobe XD Shortcuts, and click on the first link right here, you'll see the shortcut guide for Adobe XD. So that'd be things like copy and pasting, which on Windows would be Control-C, Control-V, and undoing would be Control-Z. I will be using Windows, so my commands are done in Windows. However, they also have the Mac OS commands there. So if you are using an Apple computer, please take a look at that document as well. Recordings will be posted by the organizers in due time after the workshop. Alrighty, it's 12:05. Let's begin. Prototyping UI UX with Adobe XD. Adobe XD is a powerful tool, by the way, just letting you guys know that. And once again, I'm going to reiterate the prerequisites: Adobe XD, Railway, ScriptMT, UI UX Workshop Start Kit. Have those done or be left in the dust. So today's agenda, we're going to be going over what is Adobe XD, what's the difference between a wireframe and a prototype, the prototype itself, resources, and the Q&A if we got time for that. What is Adobe XD? Adobe XD is a free vector-based user experience design tool for web and mobile applications. However, there is something I learned about XD recently. XD can do some things, like it can work as a little baby Photoshop in a sense. So this presentation I'm building, it's straight out from XD. It can play as a PowerPoint presentation right here. See? Entire thing, straight on XD. You can also be making some vector graphics and stuff on XD. Obviously, it's not designed for that. So if you're doing it on XD, you probably would have a better time doing it on something more specialized. But let's say you don't have the money or you just don't have the income for, or like the resources, XD. Other options for XD is Sketch, Figma, and another rare one is Balsamic, which is straight up for wireframing. Like it's basically a bunch of doodles, but it's very helpful for just getting the idea in. In terms of what is a wireframe and a prototype, wireframes are basically doodles. The low fidelity wireframe is what everyone thinks about when you say wireframe, a doodle of your application. Wireframes are classified into 2 things, high fidelity and low fidelity, based on like how much details you put in. There's also another one called medium fidelity, which is like in the middle of high and low. But the main ones you gotta know is high and low. Low is a doodle, high is just adding colors, adding like something in there, but you won't actually have the full application because that's in the prototype. The prototype is a simulation or sample of the final product. And what you use prototypes for is to test if your idea actually works, to test if your design works itself. So like, for example, if I'm building an app, I won't know if the button layout for my app is actually effective unless I make a prototype and give it for a few users to look at. That's what prototype is used for. All right, now that we cover the basics, let's begin. So what I recommend you guys do is, let me close this. Let me exit this, is to go to the exercise file right here, click on it and open it up. In here, you should see exercise and a landing page. You might need a few seconds to open up. Since I had it prior loaded, it will be very quick. In here, right now, I have designed the landing page to start off because this is going to be a menu application. So it's night, we're all hungry. Let's go look at some pretty food. For starters, the key functions you need to know is that if you want to make a new Adobe XD file, you click New. Opens it up from your computer or from the cloud if you have Adobe Cloud. You can get UIUX Kits, which I'll go over later on. And CC Libraries is also part of the cloud. Renaming is to rename the file. Saving here. They save files to the cloud. So when you do make an Adobe XD file, you can do that. But I recommend just starting it as a local document first. By default now, Adobe XD does it by cloud, and it does get a little bit annoying. So make sure to save as local document. Then we have the spell check, which is the most useful thing ever. Exporting and importing files, plugins, which I'll go over later, and the help. That's for the basic commands here. In terms of the most important, we'll start with the Artboard, which is this little thingy, canvas paper thing here. An Artboard is your canvas. Adobe XD has a few default canvases, that being the mobile, the tablet, desktop, social media, and watches, because Apple Watch is a thing, and digital watches. The canvas that we are using for this is the Samsung Galaxy S10 because I own an Android, but you can use it with the iPhone or tablets or anything you like to your choice. When you want to make it responsive, while we won't cover it too much, the idea is to turn on responsive resize right here when you click on something. But that is something we will not be covering in this workshop. So anyways, let's start by making a canvas. What I'm going to do is click this, and bam, I have a Samsung Galaxy S10 canvas right here. To rename it, I click on this little arrow thing, cursor, double click on the title, and it'll give me the option to change it. I'm going to change it to menu. No, actually to reservation, because we're going to start with that one first since it's simple. Click enter and it's saved. If you want to move the artboard, all you got to do is click on it like this. See, slowly moves. If you see the lines are there to help you. They're guidelines. They're there to help you align the objects. So let's say you want to make sure it's straight. You have to follow the lines. Otherwise, you do something like this and it's like, could be better. All right. So now that we have this document, let's make a shape. We have 3 shape tools given to us by default. So the rectangle, right here, little rectangle. I'm going to click the delete button to delete it. The circle, little circle, delete, and the triangle, right here. You see these little circle things when you sometimes go make the shape? They help you round the edges. So like sometimes you see these bubbles right here that have little curved edges. That's what that does. So you round it like this, and then you can make it into a short circle or some weird fancier triangle right here. We also have 2 tools, the line tool right here to make straight lines or curved and diagonal, and the path tool for the vector arts. Vector, we're not going to be touching much vector since that is an Illustrator thing mainly, but if you're interested in it, there are resources outside for that. Additionally, okay, so let's start with the rectangle. So click on the rectangle, drag it to the shape of this object, and then right now a rectangle is made right here. Give it a second. When you click on the rectangle, you see that on the right, they have a lot of options. The first option we're going to look into is the fill and the border. The fill option is the color of the rectangle. The border is the rectangle border. You might not be able to see it that much since it matches the whole artboard. Control Z back. But let's start changing the color. So one way to change the colors is to go to your asset panel. I have some assets already preloaded. So like the colors we'll be using, the character styles, and the components right here. To use it, just click on the color and bam, automatic color change right there. Easy. If you want to have no borders, you can just click on this check and it'll be disappear. Same goes for fill. Click on this and it disappears. But we actually want it to be filled. So we are going to put it like this. All right. Now the next thing, let's actually put an icon. We're going to put the house icon because this is going to be the reservation. We want them to figure out how to get back to home eventually. So that's what the house represents. You can zoom in by the magnifying glass here, but since I'm using a mouse, I just press Control Alt mouse wheel. So mouse wheel right here to zoom in, mouse wheel out to zoom out. I can also use space and click to move around the screen like this. All right, so clicking on the house, let's move this house all the way to the top left corner based on convention. And make it a little bit bigger for those with fat fingers right here. And then now we have the first house. The next thing we're going to do is add a moon for decoration. So you put the moon right here. Oh, you see how it's moving? What if I don't want it to move? Then I'd have to right click and then there's more options right here. When I click on right click, I can click on the lock and now I'm unable to touch it at all. Speaking of that, there's another important option you guys should know, and that's the arrange. To do the arrange, you right click, click on the arrange, and then it has a few. Bring to the front means all the way at the top. Bring to the back means all the way at the back. So if I bring this rectangle all the way to the front, guess what would happen? Bam, all the way, covers everything. But now what if I bring it to the back? Right click, path, no wait, not path, arrange, send to the back. It's now all the way in the back. Let me lock it so I don't accidentally move it during designing. So then this moon is decoration, so I'll put it right in the middle. Let's say I don't want to spend time aligning it, then I could just move this moon out. Give me a sec, let me zoom in to touch it. A little bit mean. I want to align it, but it's like a pain. So I can go to the right, and then there's some options at the very top that shows me alignment. This is for center align. It's aligned based on the artboard. This is for the right. This is for the left. Saves you so much time. Speaking of which, this is for the middle, this is for the bottom, which you can't see, and then this is for the top. This is very similar to, if I don't know if any of you guys used React, or not React, Flexboxes in CSS. This is the exact same thing as a Flexbox in CSS, but in icon, so you don't have to go, all right, which one is it now? I'm just gonna move you back all the way to the top. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is add some text. To add text, I click on the T right here, and then I'm going to type something. So let's see, type reservation, but it's black. I can't see anything. So let's make it white by clicking on the color. But it's not even the right font now. What should we do? Well, luckily, there's some character styles right here. So the one we're going to be using is script MT43, and it's right there. Now, we're almost done with this. We want it to be center aligned so that it looks more nicer, but right now it's left. So how do I change that? I click this right here. Another key feature of Adobe XD is point text versus area text. Area text is adding an extra bottom so you can like stretch it. So if I go S all the way, it goes down automatically. But if I were to do this in point text by clicking here, it's one line only. So if I do S, it never goes down to the bottom. It'll just keep on stretching. And eventually it'll go out of the screen. Let me just Control Z all of this S-ing. It'll be right here, reservation. And then I'm going to use the mouse here to move it here, like this. You can also use the center by clicking on this right here. All right. So far, we're so good. I'm going to go check on the chat to see if I've left anyone behind. All right, doesn't look like I've left anyone behind yet. If you're missing the icons, they're in components right here. You click on this drawer icon. The drawer icon will pop up the components. Okay, all right, so let's continue moving on. In here, we're gonna now make a picture. To make a picture, you just make a rectangle to put a shape that represents that picture. What we're gonna be doing is what I call masking with shape. So unfortunately, in Adobe XD, if you grab a picture straight from your keyboard, like which one was this one again? The tables, number 4. If you just drop it here, it's going to be this ridiculously fat photo right here. And that is not what you need because you can barely see anything. Look, it's already the whole screen. So what you do is you want to resize it, but even then you're like, wait, but what if I only want a part of it? What do I do? That's what the shape you make earlier comes in hand. Make sure that the photo and the shape are on top of each other. Like you see this little square line that goes straight to the photo? Make sure they're together. Then what you're going to do is hold Shift, click. You see that the box expanded. I'm going to do it one more time. Shift, click on the second. Click on the white square, click on the second picture. Shift, click. Once that box expands, right click when it wants to pop up, right click, and then click on mask with shape, and bam, you basically cropped your picture. But wait a second now, I cropped my picture, but now where's the rest of the picture? That's not right. You double click on the shape, and now you can move it freely. See, la 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 la. I can put it all the way in the bottom, put it all the way in the top. I'm going to center it something like this. Then click like that. Right here. And now I have a perfectly nice shape. It goes like this. It has reservation on the top. The next thing I want to do is add the form elements. So I have a text field right here, component already pre-made. I will teach you how to get these once the workshop is near its conclusion. So don't worry about that. But for now, all you're going to do, just drag it. Bam, text field right here. The reason why I emphasize making components is because components will save your life so much. So there's a lot of UIUX kits out there, and I will show you where to find them, so don't worry. But once you do, just make sure to have it neatly organized as a component so that you don't have to spend time going like, okay, let me edit this. And then when you edit it, you have to edit the rest of the fields later on. It's going to kill your time. That's how I spend like 3 hours just designing sometimes. So what I'm going to do is copy this text field, put it on the bottom right here. I'm going to copy it again, put it right here. And I think that should be it for now. Oh, and another one. We should have 4 text fields about. All right. Copy is Control-C, paste is Control-V. So Control-C, Control-V, Control-C, Control-V. Once you're done with that, I'm going to ask you guys to double click on this, click on email address. Okay, it's working. Email address. Yeah, that should sound right. Then go to the next one. After email address, what do we need for a reservation? What would you think? I think I would need their name. So I put the full name here. Then full name right here. Then I'm going to need their phone number. So I'll put that as well. Phone number. Phone number right here. And date of reservation. Oh, wait a second. I also want to know the number of people. What kind of feels weird to have like another box for that? So why don't I just resize this? To resize it, just click on the line of the box and then adjust it around like halfway. So something like this should do. So we're like this. So double click on this little box right here. You might have to zoom in for this because this is really thin. Just go whoop, 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 whoop. And bam. So we'll do date of reservation here. And then, oh, look, it's too big. Let's rename this first. So we'll name it to number of group of party. Let's call it party because I think that's the term. Then put this right here. Put number. Put a number. All right, we're almost done here. So then now, how are they going to submit all this information? They're probably going to need a button for this. So what we're going to do is use the Material UI Dark button found in Components. So you go here, click on Material UI Dark button, go straight to Components, and drag it in here. You could also use these align tools right here. Don't forget about them. I do out of habit sometimes, so even I admit like it's a folly of mine. Click on Put Reserve Now. If it goes too fat, you see how when I'm typing it, it goes too fat like that? Let's say you don't want that. You can always turn this off by clicking on uppercase like this. So it should be off now. Reserve. Now, let's say you don't want it upper, you want it lowercase instead. You could do this. So now it's straight up lowercase. Lowercase tends to be for things that are like kiddie in nature. You're trying to emphasize something like childish and you want that playful vibe. Uppercase tends to be something like serious, bold kind of thing. And then when it goes like cursive's like fancy kind of feel. I don't know if you guys get that. Okay, so reserve now. Make sure it's centered. Bam, right here. Double click the font right here. That's how you edit it. And here we go. We have our first application. Now I'm going to take a look to see if I left anyone in the dust again. Just one quick minute. All right, don't think so. Okay, going back. So now that we have an application though, how are we supposed to prototype this? How do I get from landing page to reservation? That's very easy. You click on the prototype here. So you see how there's like 3 little things on the top? It says design, prototype, share. Share is what you do at the very end when you want to give it to other people. It's basically the same thing as Google Drive. You get a link, create it, and then you can check the access, you can give it the name, and you could get the design settings. So design review is for getting feedback on your design or prototype. Development is so that your developer, your group can work with it together. Presentation is what I did in the very beginning. And you will see that when I give you guys the PowerPoint presentation. User testing is for, as the name says, user testing. You can see like, where do users click on most and leave comments? And then customize is up to you. I usually, when I send my prototypes, I do design review, anyone with link, because it's the most simplest. But I've seen people use development, and presentation was something I was trying out recently. Going on, prototype is the thing we want to focus on. So right now there's a lot of blue, and that's because the applications have not had their prototyping done. Prototyping is basically getting the action. So let's say I want this R menu button to do something. Well, what you got to do is click on it. And you see how this is blue with a little arrow there? I'm going to drag this arrow to the next page. And see how it's into the next page right here? And then make sure that the trigger is tap. Oh, wait, that's the wrong button. I just realized it's menu. I can't read. Reserve now. Drag it to reservation. Don't drag it into the circle. If you drag it into the circle, it'll just go back to landing page. Click on reservation and it will stick to reservation right here. Make sure the trigger is on tap. You can also do it by keys. So if you want to test like number keys, voice, or drag. And then to transition, it's like PowerPoint. Which transition do you want? With the preserve scroll position is later on, we can have artboards that go really long and it's like a single web page. That's what preserve scroll position is. Destination is the name of the artboard. Animation is the animation it makes when you click on it. So now that we have the reserve button in, let's try it out. Click on the play in the quarter. This will let you see the preview. And when you do, let's click on reserve now. Oh, hey, I'm here now. I can see this kind of application. But how do I get back? Well, that's what the big fat home button is for. It's a little too fat now that I think about it though. So I'm just going to shrink it a little bit to make it look better. All right, put it right here. Okay, and then now let's go back to prototyping and then move it back right here. All right, and then reserve now. If they click on that, they'll get to another option. But let's actually make that. It's really quick. So what I'm going to do is go to design, click on the reservation artboard, and do something I call the cheat method. Control-C, Control-V. Bam, here's another artboard. Change the name. Reservation submitted. Okay, let's get rid of all these things because we don't need them anymore. So I'm just going to shift-click them. Then go delete. Now, bye-bye, they go. Then I'm going to go grab a text. Grab a text right here. Then since it's script empty, I don't want that. So let's try Railway 16, this one, the second one. Put something. Let's see. Your reservation has been accepted. Received. Is received. Is received. Okay. Let's put it on point so that I don't have to deal with the spacing. Then go Control-C to copy this because I'm lazy. Now instead of point, make it an area. Click on it. Let's use the one under it for the text, and then Lorium ipsum it. Lorium ipsum something something. Because I don't remember the whole thing, and then go copy paste it. There you go. And then now you see that there's a red dot. This red dot means that it's an overflow, meaning there's something in there that you're not showing. And it could be just an enter, meaning it's a white space. So be careful on that. We're going to just drag it down so we can see the whole thing. And then we're going to just resize it so it looks something nicely. Kind of looks like a deformed hat. So let's just do something like this. Bam, they got a ominous message about their reservation. Then you can just put the view menu, because maybe that's what they want to see next. It's going to vary the message of Lorium ipsum something something a little bit, so just don't mind me. Sometimes variety is what you need. And it looks weirder. We're just going to make it like this. Make it more then, so I can fill out the space. Something like this. There you go, and then fix the lining here. Yes, something. All right, something like this. Then, bam, here's one. Now, I'm going to move this a little bit up, a little bit down. Let me just check on the previous C. Looks right. Yeah, it looks somewhat right. We'll be good. All right, let's build the menu now. So to build the menu, I'm just going to go to the Artboard button, which is right here. Click on Samsung Galaxy and then put menu. Because the menu, I want it to be something scrollable, I'm going to actually increase the size of the artboard. You can do that by dragging it like this. So I'm going to do it like this. What you see here is this little blue line. This blue line represents the edge of the artboard, meaning after this, it's scrollable. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to make this a black thing so you can see. This. Okay, so you see this little black thing here? That's what the blue line means. It's the marking. It's right at the bottom of the screen. Right here. So it's like a good point so that you know this is where the scrolling starts. Actually, I deleted this, but I really needed the black background. So make another black background. Drag it all the way to the end. Put it all the way here. And then let's lock it so it doesn't screw up when we're designing. Click on the lock. We're good. Let's grab the house. Control C. Go to menu. Control V. The cool thing about Adobe XD is that when you paste, it usually pastes in place. Paste in place means that when I paste something, it'll be right as it was in another artboard, meaning you don't have to move it around. Not all copy and paste features have that, but Adobe XD does, so it's nice. Do the same thing for the moon and the reservation. Might as well group this. Control C, go to menu, Control V, then change this to menu because that's what this is. Now, the menu I'm envisioning is a bunch of squares that users can click through, and the squares themselves are the pictures. That's why we have so many food pictures. So what I'm going to do is make an outline box right here. We'll make it around this size. This size is 360 by 125. Get rid of the border because I don't need a border for this. And then copy and paste this box. About 5 times, I would say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I forgot one more. Okay, 6 times it is. 6 times. So you have 6 items right here. And then what we're going to do is now the reason why I have things here is so I can show you how masking can be done automatically. To do masking automatically, all you gotta do is just click on the image, drag it onto the shape. Bam, your masking is done. You don't have to go through the right click process. You can also move it a little up to represent the food. So I want you guys to pick 6 food items, which are here. They're rarely labeled 2A, 2B, 2C, 2D, 2E, and 2F. But if you want to use 3A for that, go ahead. Or if you just want to make them all a piece of toast, go ahead. So we're just going to go here. Put it like this. Here. Here. Oh, this one looks weird. So let me move you up a little bit. No, put a little more down. And then right here, 2F. Ooh, that looks delicious. I feel hungry and I just ate dinner. All right. Now, the thing is, if I put an image over a text over this, I can't read this. Just to give you an example, I'm just going to copy and paste the text. This is unreadable, honestly speaking. So we need to remedy that. How do we remedy that? Well, you just put a square over it. This is my favorite tip that Caesar always yells at me for. To click here, go to border, go to fill, put it like this. Make it the black, this black. And then change the opacity. Opacity meaning how visible it is. So if I put it at 0, it's as if the shape doesn't exist. If I put it at 100, now it's all covering it. What I want is somewhere around 50 first. I test it out around 50. And then we're going to copy this and put the text. So Control C, Control V. It's still a little bit hard to read, so let's make it around 60. Yeah, 60 is more viewable because when it comes to a restaurant, you want to see the food you're eating. This one would be appetizer. Oh, cursive is the wrong one. It'd be Railway 16. Let's do Railway 16. Seems I didn't save the other one, so I'll put it on black. And then make this around 30. And add it here. So it's saved right here, you see? Alrighty. I feel I spelled appetizers wrong, but I'm not sure. And this would be breakfast here. This would be lunch. Dinner. And dessert. And beverages. All right. Just like that. Should be there. Okay. So now that we have all this laid out, here's an issue that we have. What about once people look at the menu, we want to make sure they can reserve something. So we want to redirect them to the reservation. To do that, let's move things down a little. So I'm just going to group this. To group all these items together at once in an easy, convenient way, you could just drag it. You see this big, fat blue box with a white background. Just eat them up like this. What this does is if the box touches the object, it will accept it as the group. If it doesn't touch the object, it's not accepted. So some programs do it as if you have to eat the whole object, but this one's just the little box. So what we do is we have this whole object, click Control G as a group, drag it a little bit down so we can have the reserve button all the way at the top. And I'll just copy this button right here. Right here. And then just put this down right here. You can fix this. You can leave it alone. It doesn't really matter because it's hidden. But let's say we want to add a little flair to the bottom of these. Like it's a little boring just to have it like end there. So you could just stretch this down a little bit. Stretch this down a little here. Unlock this by clicking on the lock icon. You could also right click this and click unlock here. Put it down. Put it down. Then use the little moon 1. We're going to be using moon 1 here. So put it like a little moon right here. A little moon right here. Up. And the menu. Put a little moon right here. Still too much space, I feel. Right here. Alrighty. Now that we have these 4, let's actually get them linked together. So go to prototype, our menu. Our menu should go to the menu. So I'm going to link it to the menu, make sure it's tapped, transition. Okay, menu, it's good. Reserve now is here. Let's say I made a mistake. So like I made reservation. Oh, reserve now. Here, view menu. Oh, it's also there. Ah, here, reserve now. It is really reserved now. Let's say reserve now. It shouldn't go straight to the menu. It should be your reservation is received, right? What you do is just click and drag it back. And now it's back home where it belongs. And in there, view menus here, reserve now, should go back to here. And all these houses are kept. The reason why all these houses are kept is because the copy takes the object, which also includes the prototype. So if I copied the entire artboard, the prototype for all the artboard stays. If I copy just the house, the prototype for the house stays. This doesn't apply if, for example, you copy the house and then you delete the house going to one artboard. So for example, let's say I put our menu, right? I delete the menu, but I copy landing page. It won't save the menu because that doesn't exist. In fact, it might go back to itself. So you must double check your clicking where you go. Let's test this out now. So click on the play button. Click on the play button right here. Our menu. Okay, it's scrollable. But wait a second, there's this white line here. What does this mean? In the really quarter. It means that we probably didn't cover the artboard correctly. So we have to go back here, click on this, make sure. Sometimes I like to do it a little bit over just to make sure. Better safe than sorry. Go back, click play. Loads again. This thing can change its size too. So you have this squash, fat, squash. Go here. So our menu right here. Click on reserve now. Okay, it's right there. Click on home. Home takes you there. Reserve now. Reserve now. View menu. All right, everything's linked together. Now, while I do want to go into menu items, I think it'd be more better to teach you some of the more useful capabilities of Adobe XD. Before I do so, I'm going to go back to the chat just to make sure I didn't leave anyone behind. Oh God, yes. Spicy chicken nuggets was great. I remember last year's ShellHack, I think it was night and we just stuffed ourselves on ice cream and night owl cookies. Sugar Rush. That was fun. I had a Sugar Rush earlier too. Moving on. Let's go into artboards. So I didn't cover it much throughout the workshop to save on time, but artboards basically is this little layer icon right here. This shows you the layers of your object. So remember when I was talking about arrange earlier, right here, bring to the front, send to the back? Well, this is actually it simplified. So the rectangle, if I drag it all the way to the top, that means it's in the highest layer. Move it all the way up. Bam, now it covers everything. But maybe I just want the moon and the dark button to show. There you go. So quick and easy way to do things like that. That's why some designers like to make sure their artboards is really clean. I recommend that too because it makes it easier for another designer to look at your work because then you go, oh, okay, let me go to the menu. I know what group one. What if you have 8 group ones? Which group one is the actual group one? But if you name this like menu items, then we go, oh, okay, all the menu items are there. If I want to edit that, I'll look into it, that kind of thing. So it's very good to keep a good close eye on your artboards. The other thing I want to mention is plugins. Adobe XD has wonderful plugins. I didn't ask you guys to download this ahead of time because it was my bad there, but there's a really nice plugin called Adobe XD called Lorium Ipsum, which auto-generates Lorium Ipsum text. So instead of Lorium Ipsum something, you just delete this, type here, and then you can go fill with placeholder text. Oh wait, let me select it. I deleted the whole thing. So let me just close this. See the options. Bam. My Lorium Ipsum text is done right here. And then Undraw is one of the graphic resources that I recommend you guys check out because there's a lot of no attribution required resources. The other thing that I recommend if you really want to get into Adobe XD is to check out components. So components, what are they? First, let's save this. So Control S. I'm going to now open another file called States Kit. This is a UIUX Kit, and I'll teach you how to download those in a due time. Kit is based what you received right now, except way better. It has a lot of templates that you can copy and paste very easily and customize. So for this one, the states kits, this is to show you animation in Adobe XD because, surprise, Adobe XD has animation. To do that, you go to Basics, go to Artboard, make sure it's open, bam. So what happens when I click on this? Does it actually move? Yes, see, it is moving like the actual thing. Click on the drop down, up and down, check, radio. How does this work? See? This one doesn't work, but this one does. Boom, my notifications are gone. Ding, 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 ding. This works because of something we call a component state. So when you group items together, for example, this, you have the option to make it a component. Components are made of states. States are the way to think about it is like if you're animating something, it has a resting phase, an active phase, and the things in the middle to make it to that. That's kind of what a state is. For this case, if I were to do the check right here, this is, by the way, not in the UIUX, like the starter kit. We're already done with that. So this is mostly more theory and additional concepts. For the check, if I click on this again, I will see that this checkbox has two states, uncheck and default state, default being it's open. To make it a thing, what I could do, I'm going to copy and paste this, put it here so I could show it to you guys better. So what I'm going to do is unlink this to destroy the state. And now it should only be a lonely checkbox that does nothing. If I click on it here, it will do nothing. Nothing. But let's say I do actually want it to be unchecked. So what I do is I have to make it a component by clicking here. And now it's a component. When it's a component, it means right here. Well, let me delete this first. It means every time I drag you, it'll come back like that. So after that, I can click on the plus to add a new state like this. And then call it something. So we'll do uncheck. Uncheck. So uncheck, I want the check mark to be gone, but I also want it to be like empty. So what I do is click here on uncheck, delete the check, and then flip this border like this. Then, bam, default state uncheck. And then now, if I just leave it like this though, it still won't click. I'll show it to you because it's not animated. So what we do is we go to prototype, you click on it, you make it go to itself. It's like double clicking it. This means it's by itself. Then you go to choose Artboard state, click on uncheck, and make sure that it's on auto animate. Auto animate is Adobe's auto animating thing. Then you go to uncheck, do the same, because if you don't, then once you check it, uncheck it, it won't go back. Then you make it default state. So you do that, and click on play. Bam. See? Pops out too. Might not be able to see it, but it kind of pops. That is the power of Adobe XD there. Don't know if Figma has this though, but Caesar can prove me wrong. And then the UIUX kits. So how do I get these awesome kits? Well, the easiest way is to go to Google and type in Adobe XD UIUX Kits. Go on here, go to the products. It's loading, it's loading. And then you go to UIUX Kits. They also have icon sets here if you're interested. And you pick one of these. These are the ones approved by Material UI, Microsoft, IBM, Adobe, and Apple. But for custom homebrew is what I call it ones, you go to the bottom and you have it right here. Hand-drawn wireframes for if you want to mimic that kind of doodle look. Sign-ups right here. This is for the component states that I was using earlier and more. The presentations, there's a lot right here, so I recommend you just take a look and play with them. Let me see if I can show you guys Material UI. No, I don't have that. So I'll just do this one. This is an old Material UI one. I'm going to open it up to show you guys how it looks. Just how a UIUX kit looks. It might take a while to load because it does have a lot of assets. So that's going to be fun. So while that's loading, let's see if there's... Right? And then that's it for most of the workshop, I'll cover the resources in a moment. Right here, it loaded. You have the typographic scale. So for Material UI, you can use Roboto, that's their main font, and this is their color scheme right here. If you change one of these colors, it will change for the rest of the kit. So you can just change these colors right here and then copy and paste them afterwards. And as you see here, they have all these standard components, cards, chips right here, loading. More cards. Where's the buttons? B for button. Buttons, and they have it from active, disabled, click, hover, and click animation right here. Fab chips. These are based on Material UI right here. Do be careful. Some of them do have lots of parts, so they will take a while to load. And let's get back to the PowerPoint so I can share you guys the resources and then take in any questions and answers. So while it's loading, spinning. Okay. So resources. What I recommend is to take a look at the UIUX toolkits from Adobe XD and play with them because they are created by designers who are also very skilled at Adobe XD. So you can see like how they build these components. You can ungroup them, take them apart, view the layers, see like where are shadows being added, what kind of special technique are they using to get that look. For fonts, Google Fonts. If you do have Adobe Creative Cloud, you can do Adobe Fonts, which some of the fonts that I've used in UP's marketing does use that. For icons, there's free icons, Iconica. There's also Font Awesome, but those are not non-attribution. So you have to be careful on that. For pictures, Unsplash, Pixabay. I recommend if you just want to hurt yourself, go to Unsplash and type in food pics. Delicious. For inspiration, Behance, Dribble, FreePic. FreePic has lots of nice inspiration because they're a site that people use to get templates. And finally, Adobe XD has their own resources, so I recommend you check that out. One more I forgot to mention is Undraw. Undraw is vector graphics. All right. I think I finished the presentation and I have 10 minutes for questions, which is great. So I'm just going to unshare this part and share the PowerPoint real quick. Yes, the presentation will be shared in the design channel once I'm done with this. And as well, I'm going to see if I can get it into the guide so you guys can have easy access to it. Go press play so you can just see. Do you actually see this? Yes, it is. I don't know how lightweight it is compared to Sketch because I've never used Sketch before, as I am a Windows person. But one of my favorite things about Adobe XD is the amount of resources out there because it's been here for at least 3 years and it just keeps on improving. Like last components are just a new thing. It came out last year. This experience. All right, so if you guys have any questions, go ahead. I'm here to answer them. Thank you for the compliments, though. Really enjoy it. And you will be getting this presentation, so. I don't know if it's 3 years old. I actually have to go check out Google to see this. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm curious. You got me. It was made in 2006. Okay, I'm wrong by 1 year. 4 years old. It's 2016. All right, let me know if you guys have any more questions. Yeah, it's fairly young though when you think about it, but they went really far. I remember when Adobe XD started, you couldn't even do gradients. So I had to go bypass it with Adobe Illustrator. So most websites use REM, R-E-M. When you do mockups, you won't ever be able to, I think the standard size in most mockups is, let me pull out the Google one again, 30, 16 for body, 30 for the fattest header. Second fattest would be like 24, I believe. Let me just double check. I don't want to give you the wrong info. It's loading. So what that is. Okay, so according to Material UI, 96, 60, 48, 34, 24, 20, 16, 14, 16, 14, and 12. But mainly it's 96, and the regular is 14 and 16. What I recommend is to design it. I do it by eye, honestly, because sometimes even if you do it by 96, if you're doing it by big fat web screen, it might not even look perfect on the UI UX. So in a mobile design, yes, it might look right because it's smaller, but in a big web app, you might have to increase that 96 to 128, for example, and you might have to multiply the sizes like that, which is why the character styles are really nice, because once you make one edit, you can make it to the rest easily. For web design in general, though, I would say use REM, R-E-M. REM is for responsive. Web design as in if you're doing CSS. What size mobile view do you recommend making prototypes of? So what I recommend is to make sure that it fits on common ones. So you won't put something like the older Apples, Apple 6, if you're doing a UI UX design. You want to do something like Apple 10. I think 10 is the newest. I have to see. I'm sorry, Apple. Oh, God. It's Apple XR, I think. Yeah. For the UI UX side of things, you won't ever get an 100% accurate representation because the way the font looks from the actual code is very different. I've had much experiences where I would design something on a phone, for example, an Android phone, and then someone else would take that code, look in it, and then you would see like, wait, that font is smaller than the one I have in my design. That's because of the REM difference. So I say it's personal preference, but make sure to pick something that's like common. So like Adobe Android or iPhone. Might be able to get a better answer. Yep. All right. Any more other questions? Be free in the chat. Let's see if I missed anyone on the top. The headset I'm using. It's by Corsair. Corsair is the company. I don't remember which one is it. It's like Corsair wireless headphone. I had a friend link it to me, so if you DM me on Discord, I can send it to you which one it is for the headset. But it's actually really nice. So I used to have a really bad mic and people could barely hear me, but now it's very nice and convenient right here. And then there's a button, so the design difference from design and code, I say the best way to do it is practice. So in terms of font difference, most of these should work for mobile. So the one that Google wrote for Material UI accurately represents their Material UI kit because that's the one they use to design it. For things that you're doing homebrew now, like completely new, you might have to take a look at, for example, going onto the web and seeing what the recommendations for that one is. I'm trying to think of a good way to do it. It's more trial and error. So it's not like it won't be completely off. Like if I make something 96 font and then this web developer uses it, you won't have it like 70 or 60 or 50. It'll still be somewhere around 96, but it'd be like 90 instead of 96, that kind of thing. This is where I say Figma helps a little bit because Figma actually transforms it into the code. So when you put it in the code, you're like, oh, okay, it looks more correct than what it has before. Honestly speaking, I do have issues with that, so I can't give you the best of advice there. All right, anything else? It's going to be waiting here. In terms of design, let's see. I guess I could show you off some of the resources, like Unsplash. The cool thing about Unsplash, so design is something I mainly do as a side job. I did do a little bit of UI UX during the internship period that I had there, and I do want to look into more opportunities for JPMC for UI UX because they do have a UI UX team there. And I'm trying to get connected and see if I can get further in. So I am planning to do it for full time eventually, but right now it is something I'm doing in the side. And most of the skills I've learned for UI UX was a side thing. So I've never formally studied art. It's actually funny, I can't draw that much. So like basic shapes and like getting the composition I'm good at with the colors. But I don't know how to draw, and that's why Caesar does most of the vector illustrations when we do the marketing, because I'm not that skilled at it. I am planning to pick it up because I do feel art is very important when you're doing design in a way, because it's like math with CS. While math isn't required to learn how to program, it's easy, helps you understand things a little better. And I do feel that if I did study art, it would help do that better. So that's for that question. But yeah, I'm going for software engineering and JPMC. So there's that too. Focus on the weak points. And ideally, yeah, that I actually don't know what that is. So let me Google that. You got me there. Ah, that's what it is. Well, I think it's interesting. I didn't know that was what his name was, actually. I've seen it around, but I didn't know that was his name. Like when you go to like UI UX references, you see like that kind of design style going up, but didn't know that's what it was called. So honestly, I feel like I prefer new morphism because it feels more modern, but that's a personal preference. It's like more sleek and shiny, while the other one is a little bit more. It reminds me of that old iPhone 4 I had in high school, if I want to be honest. That's what I feel. Alrighty, so 1 minute's left. I guess I'll end the workshop right now. I agreed with that. It's less busy too, less going on the screen, which is very important sometimes when you're doing design, as you don't want to overwhelm the user. If they see so many elements, they're going to go, I don't know where to go. Let me stop sharing. And then if you guys have any more questions, I recommend you guys just chat it up on design. I am active for a while, and I don't mind hearing what you guys have to say about a few things. So yeah, see you all. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. I know it's really late. And have a great evening.